guy's losing games
Of
in
course.
flat.
Of
So,
course.
there's only so much you can do.
It's true. Ball is one of the better heroes for taking over games when you're wildly below your skill rating, but it still is. There are games where hey, your team is hard feeding, etc. There's only so much you can do, or your team decides to tilt over the fact that you don't have a Reinhardt, etc. It happens. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
can you see my screen all right here?
Yep. I've got it.
Okay,
I've got it.
perfect. Then
Yeah. Abe was very annoyed that I was wrecking ball, but also did not want to play shield tank either. So
I get it.
I
I
don't know.
mean, it's not
He
like you
wants to
guys.
he wants to have his cake and eat it too, I guess.
It's funny how that works. They want to be
Yeah.
Zarya and they want to have that Reinhardt that they understand how to bubble. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. Okay. Do you have any questions generally before we get into this, or shall we get to reviewing?
No, I've watched a bunch of your stuff for other people, so I get it. You can just
Perfect.
jump in.
Perfect. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I'm typing hide chat in Discord. That's not really going to help me. Okay. So here we go. Oh, you tried so hard. You don't even need the tether to get up there, to be honest.
I know. I'm just kind of like keeping sit up.
Sure.
I'm thinking in silver, like I can kind of just stay back here and scout.
So I'm good with that, but maybe don't do this full roll through here where you give them a chance to see you. Maybe just
Okay.
roll up over here, and actually this is a fine waiting spot right here, or even this right here where you just third person it around the corner to sort of see where they
Okay.
go. They're never going to catch you, but no need to have given them a chance to see A, that you have a wrecking ball, and B, that you have a wrecking ball on this side of the main choke, etc.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
At this point, I see Hanzo's thing, and I'm like, Symmetra. There's a Symmetra. They're gonna do the thing.
So the thing about that is you have to be careful because you can be late if they do get this teleporter off and you don't disrupt them before they do. You can be late to the point, so you got to be aware of this as well.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like ready to get this teleporter.
Good.
Or like to try to mess them up a bit.
Sure.
I scuffed that.
You did. So
I don't know how I scuffed that. I do like I spend like 30 minutes a day just doing rollouts on maps. I don't know, man. The pressure. Like I haven't seen a sim yet in comp try and do a TP to point on this. So I was like, oh fuck, and then I fucked it up.
All good. So this is probably just a case of you're worried probably too much about. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So you just overextended. You just needed to let go earlier.
I didn't let go earlier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's literally just a case of you needed to. You have this. You have everything you need. You at this point you definitely are like, hey, I should let go, etc. Because you're still okay, but now you've killed it. You've literally killed it with this, and that's all that goes wrong. And you were probably thinking too hard. What probably happened is you were thinking too hard about the sleep dart. And the truth is, the sleep dart doesn't matter because if you think about these guys, okay, so you get slept. So what? There's very little they can do to hurt you. Are they going to turn around to pin you? Well, that would kind of be a win because it's sort of going to mess up their whole TP play, etc. So like you're fine, and you're going to survive with your adaptive shield because you came into this with full health. Okay, instantly under the Ana. No. We need this Ana.
They're like all on the point. They're all on the point now. But yeah, you're right.
Like I get it. Like, hey, I didn't love necessarily this roll through, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, that's Ana. You see that Ana's purple. You always knew that Ana was gonna get knocked up. You're between her and the teleporter. Like, she doesn't have any friends. Yes, they could come back through the TP and finish you, but like. Probably not. So you should absolutely unball here, go weapons mode, and just try to fight out this Ana. Like that's valuable. Yes, it's not you contesting the point, etc. But I mean, you would take this trade every day of hey, I'm not distracting the rest of their team, but I'm distracting their primary means of support, and I have a 70% chance of eliminating it. Oh, okay, please go do that.
buy some
And you have
time
this
for
point
the-
delay, but this is just point delay. You don't expect to
Yeah,
win it at this point, etc. Where you potentially turn the fight by taking down the Ana, which your Mei has done
there's
for you.
no chance.
And the Sim's going to be the end of you. Honestly,
Yeah,
Sim
yeah.
should have been the end of you faster, because a single turret like up here is just like, okay, you're done, because you
Yep.
won't keep fireball speed. So again, contesting the point, wrong answer here, right answer, deal with the Ana. But all good.
Objective lost. New defense point. Objective.
I'm getting set up high ground here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh fuck, I know what they're up to.
Mm-hmm. They're taking advantage of the fact that they have that Sim.
Yes.
But you don't have the strong boop to take them down anymore. Okay.
No, I don't. I should have gone back in with the Zarya bubble.
No, it's not
wasn't
even
expecting
that.
it, but-
It's mostly a, what does this accomplish?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to buy my team some time to like understand what's about to happen to us. And it does end up working. We do push this back.
Okay.
And we do a pretty good job of it.
I'm glad that you push it back, and slowing down rotations isn't bad necessarily, but most of the time you want to slow down rotations and mess them up a little bit when they're in positions that are sort of vulnerable. So, like, if you mess up this team rotating to point when they're here at a vulnerable spot, good. If you mess up this team rotating from here to here, good. If you mess up this team rotating from here to here, good. Because those are all vulnerable spots that even though it's going to cost you some health, some resource to do so, and they're probably going to do more damage to you than you do to them, it makes them stay in this vulnerable spot for a longer period of time, and your team is going to punish them more, contest them more, be more likely to get a pick, etc., etc. With me so far?
Yep.
Okay. If you do it over here, unless you knock someone off, which is what I thought you were going to try to do, it doesn't do anything. Your team isn't like, all it does is make their rotation take longer, but there's no chance that your team is going to get more damage done on them, get an elimination, get them when they're vulnerable. They're just not vulnerable over here with how your team is set up. So this is purely a, does my team desperately need 2 more seconds to get into a place where they can fend this better? And I think the answer is no. I think with the fast response you get and everything, I don't think that 2 seconds is worth what you're going to end up trading here, which is Pile Drive, a 10-second cooldown, Adaptive Shield, a 15-second cooldown, and some health, right? Like, I'm looking at that and going, and you might have been able to do this without Adaptive Shield. You should have done this without Adaptive Shield. But even so, I just don't think this is a good trade of your Pile Drive and health and your pre-positioning, because now you're going to have to find a way to circle back to get back to a place where you can come in from a different angle so that you're not going in the same direction as your team. It just doesn't do enough. You with me?
Yeah.
Cool. And obviously you're never going to find the elimination. I don't mind the bubble because you're in leave mode, etc., and it's honestly just not a very good bubble. Unfortunately, that's not good enough anymore because your boop has no chance. It's a little bit better, though, because, hey, it's a boop through that's slowing down the rotation when at least they're in this hallway that, you know, they don't have any space, etc., but they're in the sight lines of your team. So it's better than what you did earlier.
It like
yes.
accidentally bought Mei time. I wasn't really thinking about that
Sure,
at the time. I was just like, I'm going to try to slow them down a little.
But even if we didn't hit the Mei wall, at least it's slowing them down a little for, you know, any hit scan up here, etc., to do work, anyone over here to do work. Like, it was better. It's a little
and I need the ult because I know I'm gonna have to stop them with mines like very soon.
And you hit a lot of them with it. It's a little scary because you don't have Adaptive Shield available to you, and you know you're not going to get the Zarya bubble either, but still fine. You're going to loop through for the Pile Drive. You have shield again, and that's a fine minefield.
Sentry turret still in my mind,
but that's okay. Good little hop. Could we have denied that? Probably, but maybe you didn't have it. Okay.
Does Boop still deny res? with the nerf?
So it depends how far it moves her. So it's entirely dependent on whether it moves her far enough away that she's out of res range. So if you don't move her enough, yes. But if she didn't start her res literally standing on top of the target, you could still deny it. You follow what I'm saying? Like, it's purely a question. It's not the act of her being booped or not. It's a range check of, is she still in range to be doing this res? And if she's not,
Right.
she doesn't. So yes, you're not going to necessarily every single time get exactly what you want, but you can still pretty regularly deny reses. I didn't really see, though. I was too distracted answering your question. So you're out here, you have tether. She goes for her res in the sky, which is harder for you to deal with. Okay. You don't want them getting out. That's fine.
Let's get rid of this.
Fishes for more staggers. What's that?
But no, I'm just like, yeah, let's get rid of this thing already.
Sure. That's a nice little climb there. What level game is this?
Like 1700.
Wow. Okay. You have some techs for 1700 hamster. We're gonna have to. I mean, I can guarantee you that we're gonna have to work on your engagement timings because you've put the work in on your techs already. Good. And that's good news. It means your climb, if we can get your engagement timing down, is going to be relatively easy. Just because you've already laid the groundwork. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Like, these guys kind of seem good at working as a team, so I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like I need to be on the opposite side of my team from them at all times to just like.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. I just don't like that you're here.
The thing.
I don't at all mind that you came out here and are hanging out here, but I want you hanging out here. I want you hanging out here. I want you hanging out here. I don't want you here because, like, okay, you exposed yourself so that you could see them. Well, you could see them just as well because you can third person from behind walls, right? And now McCree or a mercy boosted McCree or Anna or, Zarya can all poke at you. Like, this was you could get the same information right here, but be less vulnerable. And not only less vulnerable, also they then don't have the information of when you are, which is a pretty big win too. So this is a bit of a problem. Oh no.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing that I like. I find hard to know. It's like, and ultimately it's a bit unknowable. But like sometimes you want them to know you're behind them, and they're like, "Oh fuck, we can't engage so clean right now. Like we have to be careful." And sometimes you don't want them to know, and I have a hard time knowing which is which. I feel like right now I kind of do want them to know.
Okay.
So that they kind of like stop what they're doing and lose some of their like they have a lot of momentum.
Sure.
Right now.
Now that someone on your team has potentially gone down, yes, you potentially do want them to know. You want it to be the distraction. You want it to slow them down, etc. But it sort of becomes a question of, generally for the first little trades, you don't, because your first little time going in is going to be the most powerful, and it's going to be your best chance to get an actual elimination, right? Like when they don't know you're here, you're more likely to be able to get an elimination, etc. And you have all of your cooldowns, etc. After you've gone in once, you sort of want them to remember that you're there, and you want to sort of remind them because you don't have all of your cooldowns anymore. Maybe you're missing adaptive shield, maybe you're missing pile drive, maybe you're missing 200 health, etc. And the threat of you is more scary than actual you. Does that sort of make sense?
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
I scuffed this fucking.
Well, you scuff it, yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
It's okay. We like the outer league.
Sure.
It's actually kind of good that I'm here because McCree loses, like he tunnel visions me, and then I think he dies to the dragon. Completely unintentional.
Sure. Okay, you did hit a 2-person or a 3-person there. Okay. Fine. Oh yeah, and your team has the ults to win that. That's fine. Works out well. Engagement timing was right. I'm surprised you haven't fireballed through him yet. Okay.
I was about to.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just a reaction. It's like this is what should come next. It's not here. I get it. You're getting there. Why are you here?
This is definitely turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah. So I'm looking
I think in my head their respawn was still much further away than I thought. Like, I mean, I think I lost track of time fighting the McCree,
Sure.
and
You
I was
lost
like,
track
oh,
of.
I still have like 10 seconds before they
Yeah,
start.
no,
And I was
they're
gonna like hide in the corner kind of thing. And
totally fine. Their McCree is probably in spawn, maybe just now leaving. Yeah, their Mercy is still spawning, but there's still 4 of them that can show up here. And if you saw 1, maybe you'd play with them a little. But you immediately see 3, which is really 4 of them, because you can see the sim thing there. And it's just sort of like, wait a second, my team is never going to back me up here. Like, it's just not going to happen. My team's not going to back me up. My team has retreated, etc. You need to do the occasional checks on your team. And if we actually look at, let's go back to that fight here.
and
Okay.
I do that, but sometimes, and like this is I guess another thing that I struggle with is like,
Mhm.
when is it a time when like I should just kind of like do my own thing and fuck with them and collect health packs versus like not do that and just wait somewhere for my
Sure.
team to hard.
So you might want to mess with them and slow them down. Like you might go, I'm gonna trade ult charge to you guys, because if you're messing with them and collecting health packs, they're getting ult charge and your team isn't, right? Like you're
Yes.
trading
Yeah.
unevenly by definition. But that can be worth it if like, hey, we won the team fight, but we are down people and they're about to come back as 4, as 6, whatever, and we've only got 2 up, something like that. Absolutely, that can absolutely be worth it to slow them down, mess with them, etc. Or something just went really wrong, like we have a baby diva that desperately needs to remech, right? Otherwise, they're going to have a 6v5 against us. Like,
Right.
okay, buying more time to slow them down, totally worth it. Or maybe I'm going to go in and we're going to 2v6 them for a second, and I'm going in and trading health, disrupting them, simply because we have a tracer that's trying to hit a pulse bomb. Or we have really good poke. So if we have like a Hanzo in this corner, and an Ashe over here, and a Mercy, and a Zen, etc., I'm absolutely going to mess with them and disrupt their rotation, because I think these guys are going to get work. I want to extend the length of the poke phase, right?
Right.
But you don't really have that right now. Like, A, you guys aren't super set up for that. Like, your Mei is still back here. Your Hanzo's maybe thinking about being able to contribute, but your Hanzo can't contribute if they're behind this. So, like,
Yeah.
it becomes a maybe I mess with you if my team's poke is stronger, I mess up with your rotations. Yes. But you just going into 1v4 them right here, like, that's not good.
Okay. Especially since I have ult anyway. It's not like I have nothing to gain.
You have ult. Everyone on your team is up. They're already not going to push because they're down 2 people. And this is like, I'm going to shoot you. Well, you're going to get shot back, and yeah, like.
And I'm.
Health back was wrong. It's going to cost you more than you get out of it.
I would have gotten out
boy.
if I
Oh, boy.
I know it's so bad.
Okay, so
I need to practice my Hanamura roll that's a little bit more.
no problem. So this was wrong just because it meant that the McCree was going to get another shot at you, and when you do your calculations of how much it returns versus how much you get from it, that's just a thing. And your tether is just up here. Like your tether is just up here for this roll across, etc. Not a big deal. But again, we didn't want this in the first place because it's sort of like you're not actually going for an elimination, and this was purely weapon mode distraction. Like you weren't even going for a hard, I'm going to swing through, boop you a little bit, come up, pile drive, get my 150 damage, almost, and then do my weapons on you to finish you. Like that would at least be a real elimination attempt. So like I still wouldn't recommend it here, but this was just like pure distraction, etc., which only matters if your team is in a place where they can also do work, because you aren't enough by yourself. You're never going to be with this gunner thing. The only way you can be enough by yourself is roll through, slam, unball, weapon mode on them as they're falling. So not a big deal.
This definitely costs us the next the point.
Okay. But you're going to come back and save it with Minefield. I know you're not, but
No, not even close. I dropped it too far back.
You did. You definitely dropped it too far back. Okay.
And we're already down. Like we've lost our Ana at this point.
She got her nano out, so she's contributing from beyond the grave, but you've mostly put it on this side where it's sort of less helpful. It's too far back. We wanted it a little bit more forward. And honestly, I'm sort of looking at this and going, let's just go back here. I don't love this, because your roll now is over. Now maybe your roll goes further if you don't get hit by this. I don't think so. I think this is about when you're.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think you stay Fireball for a little bit longer, like long
Okay.
enough here.
Okay. If you stay long enough, that's fine. So the tether got you, and that's fine. The tether got you. That's annoying, but this is just too early. And maybe if the tether from the beams hadn't got you, this would have been deeper and this would have been better. Take the angle. Probably not. This is honestly probably a case of we're losing this fight hard. So we go here. I'm looking at this and sort of going, can you help with this, or are they kind of boned?
I think we're just both like. You can see, I don't even know what target to acquire, honestly, at this point.
So literally
and
just
I
go
don't
back
know if
and
there
heal.
is a target to acquire.
Just go back and heal and come back out because you're in stall mode at this point. And you going back in right now is not stall mode. They have a Velt going. They have a Sim wall going. Like, you have someone on point. He's going to go down quickly, but, like, that's just going to have to be life. He's not going to get grab if you help him survive. So, like, just leave, come back, get healed, come back in, and then when you're stalling in a second, this will be closer to over. One of these two things that are annoying anyways, you'll have a fresh you'll have your adaptive shield, all sorts of stuff. Instead, you do this and you go, oh, I'm in danger, so I'm immediately going to pop my adaptive shield. And if you're staying in, you're right. You do want to pop this adaptive shield. I just don't think you should be staying in. I expect you wanted a pile drive there and you just messed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So not the big deal, but you can clearly see a really bad engagement timing. Not the re-engage there, but the one up at the very end of Hanamura first, beginning of second, cost your team. So, like, you know, it's an engagement timing, and that's, as a tank, you absolutely have to get a crystal clear understanding of that. So we're gonna work on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like have this bad mindset maybe where I'm like, oh, Wrecking Ball so fast to get back to point. Respawn times are actually pretty fast in this game. If I feed like that far away from point, it'll be all good, and it was not this time.
Well, it's not, and it's also Wrecking Ball can be almost as bad as Hog in terms of feeding ult charge. So like you might feel like you're doing a ton of work, but if you're not doing it at the right times, every team that you don't go off and take people down, you're going to discover that, wait, why are we getting ulted out? Why do they have 2 more ults than us every fight? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
I run into that with like bad D.Va players all the time when I'm playing support. Like they will literally have a Bob like every 45 seconds or something, and I'm like, oh my god, dude. Like, you can't just sit in the middle of the fucking map.
You tried.
Okay, I got it. Not quite, but I'm in.
You are. You were in.
I've lost my pile drive. On my next attempt, I do it better.
That's okay. You're going to have to wait anyways because your Zarya's down. So you're just going to exist back here for a bit. You're just going to exist back here. Is this even helping? Like, is this really
it's not,
even
but
helping?
I'm kind of like, hello, I'm here. Like,
okay.
Stop looking at the choke so much. Like, maybe let our guys
in
one of you off.
But you guys don't want to push right now.
No, they don't.
Right, so this isn't really helpful. Like, if you knew that Orisa was weaker, like the purple, that's kind of an opening. If you knew they were weaker, this might be something. But at this moment, it's really just like a total mellow mode. Total mellow mode, you don't need to be doing a thing. You can clear turrets, that's fine, but they're going to put them back up. But you can clear them, that's fine. Nope. Your team still isn't in a place where they're likely to want to push anytime soon. Because, like, okay, now that this res happened, they might want to sometime soon, assuming that your Kree survives. But you're sort of in a, operating from a, you can spy on her, you can keep an eye on her, you can stare at her, but you don't need to be engaging her until you actually have this res go off. And even then, you might wait just a second for your team to sort of organize. You just
right. Like, maybe I should just keep wrapping all the way back around, so that they've completely lost track of me, and then
you can just hang back here. You can just hang back here if they push you. You've got 2 megas available to you. Like, you're totally fine. It sucks, but sometimes doing nothing is the right thing. Like, that's kind of the space that you need to occupy. Because if you do okay stuff at the wrong time, you're not going to have your cooldowns when you need the big cooldowns for the fight, or you're going to be missing a bunch of health, or you're going to be out getting a health pack when your team actually needs you 2 seconds later. Okay, well, eventually you'll chip her down if she really doesn't get any help. You're dragging the Sim back. That might make it easier for them to push in a minute. But you just saw the Mei swap happen. So, okay, she doesn't have cooldowns. You could force this, and now you have to leave. As soon as you saw that Mercy's on her, you have to leave. I actually don't mind that you tried to go for that because you'd seen, hey, cooldowns have been getting burned out of her, etc. Turned out that the thing was back.
I thought her nade was still gone.
Yeah, I get it. This is less good. This is significantly less good. Like you might find something
I'm
off
like
this.
Get them through. Yeah, we do end up getting somebody.
Good. So it's not like conceptually bad, but it's less powerful than it used to be, right? So there's a couple things going on here. One of which is your team should be getting closer to being ready. We go through this. This conceptually was fine, but unfortunately she did have the nade. Wouldn't have mattered though because she had the Mercy pockets. And now we're looking at this, and I'm like, hey, their McCree... Oh, no, I'm misjudging. This is fine. Their McCree is already down. This is fine. I was thinking it was your... I was flipped on my colors there. So this is fine. Totally fine. You could have been slept there, but you weren't, and even if you had been, it wouldn't have been a big deal. And you're doing this, you know, and we're knocking them out. They're going to get the Kree res off, but this is reasonable. Your team is in this. Your Mei is just now showing up, but that's fine as an engagement timing. No issue.
I think, you know, like I figured it never hurts to boot people through the choke because you never know when. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. And they do capitalize on it.
No, this is fine. It doesn't never hurt to push people through the choke. Like if your team is down 3 people and you push them through the choke, you're not really helping.
True.
But hey. Okay. Easy finish. You're gonna go right back in. That's again just a technical mistake on your part.
Yeah.
Usually you just
I think
do
the one rollout I never practiced because I'm like, when would I ever want to do this?
So you just go higher with this tether. That's all that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're up here, and you probably don't want to go into this, but you have a bunch of shields, so you might as well do some weapons mode here and just, you know, go, hey, there's not a great target, but maybe I'll shoot at the Zarya a bit, or the Orisa a little bit, etc. Instead, you do this.
I ended up going for the pile. I'm like, I'll get rid of his. I'll get rid of more armor this way. I'll kill this. I'll kill the thing, and then I'm just gonna probably get the hell out because I'm about to run out of my shield in like 2 seconds.
Yep. Interesting. So here we are. I'm still okay with it, but you've done that, and you've got, you know, there's no sim turret on you, and you know there's no sim turret on you, and your team has their Valk going. No, their team has the Valk going. Your team also has the Valk going. I'm looking at that going, no, that's a Mercy Beam on you. I'm surprised that you don't tether here if you're going to go through the Ana like this. Like I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, well if you're going in the direction of the Ana, why aren't we fireballing? Like you're going, hey, I'm going to fight you, and that's sort of like, I don't care if I get slept by her. I'll immediately get woken up by something. Yeah, okay, that's fine. You kind of just were there too long, effectively.
Yeah.
Ready for combat.
Good. You dodged it. You win. Oh, I'm still in fast mode. My bad. We'll rewind just a touch.
Yeah. There's just too much heat on me right now with the. Sim has such an easy time tracking a ball.
Sim does have an easy time tracking a ball, but also let's think about this sort of breakout of what's going on here. So they're down a Zarya, which, hey, that's something. You guys, or maybe you're down a Zarya. No, they're down a Zarya. Fine.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
I'm just looking at the Zarya on this side of the choke, getting confused for a moment. Whereas, you know, you were like, hey, we have a Mercy and an Ana in spawn. And I know you can't necessarily see that by pressing tab or whatever, but you do have to get a feel for the feed for your engagement timings, and you do have to have some look behind you. And if you sort of look back here to when you started your rollout, which we are going to do, this is you starting your rollout. You're down both supports, right? So like you're down both supports,
right.
And you're thinking, I can go in here and do this. It's going to be great. I think you're just too focused on executing your rollout, so you're sort of in a, well, hold on, both of my supports are in spawn. Now they're alive, but both of my supports are in spawn, so they're not contributing to this fight for at least 8 seconds or so. There probably isn't a fight here. Unless you think this last fight went differently than it did, and like you put more of them in spawn, you're not in this. Like, you're going in and you're sort of forcing a at best a 4v5, but probably closer to like a 3v5. That's not really what we want. And they're only having to 2v1 you, and okay, there's ways that you could play this where a 2v1 wouldn't be enough to be this painful to you, and we'll go over some of that.
Yeah. I fuck up a grapple.
Yeah.
And that, if it wasn't for that, I think it'd be fine. I would just go over simple.
Sure. But like, I look at this and go, hey, the Sim's paying attention to me. I've dodged the sleep dart, and that's a big deal for forcing this fight, but I didn't get opening tether damage on her, and the Sim is also paying attention to me. So I'm sort of in, maybe I'm just going to bait more attention now. Maybe I'm not actually going to go for the elimination. I'm just going to bait more attention, because baiting attention is safer than going for the elimination. And again, even though she missed the sleep, I've already got heat on me. I'm already missing health, and I didn't get my opening tether damage on the Ana. So, like, it just becomes a, hey, maybe I'm going to play over here and shoot for a bit. Hey, maybe I'm going to shoot you some more. Maybe I'm going to go to get a health pack. Maybe I'm going to distract your front line, etc. Like, this is distraction mode, not hardcore elimination mode, since you're already in here and kind of came in too early. That's much of what's leading to this. Like, they can afford to have Sim turn around and help here, etc. But also, it's just respecting, hey, I didn't get the opening damage on her. I can play until I have all my cooldowns lined up, and then maybe I'll go for an elimination again. But you get the idea. Like, distracting Ana is very valuable. It's taking away their, what props their front line up. Yeah, this is, you're going in on her too hard, effectively. Oh my goodness. Almost. Okay.
I mean, I make it, but like...
You do, but at what cost?
Nothing's happening.
So,
Nothing's
it's not just what is happening. Now your team is actually ready to push. And you might feel like, oh, this is a result of me pulling the Sim away. A little bit that, but mostly you're out here getting health packs when your team is ready to push. And look at that Zarya that we were talking about. Just got to here. You could have a 6v5 right now.
Right.
But you didn't, because you went for this. And that's Overwatch right there. Like, it's not totally a numbers game, but a large part of it is a numbers game, and you just messed it up.
Get ready, they're coming back.
Current status. Securing objective.
Okay, but what's the plan here? Like, didn't your team back off pretty hard, and you saw through the wall that they'd backed off pretty hard? Like, you can see your teammates through the wall. You can't see the enemies through the wall in the real game. But as we come in here...
Get ready, they're coming back.
You can see where your teammates are right now. And if you look at where your teammates are, your Maze may be in, but that's it. Everyone else, maybe they're going to come in. No, looks to me like Hanzo's backing off pretty hard. And so you're going for this, like, hey, this is juicy, this is big, etc. And maybe it's like, oh, this will help save my Mei. But I'm looking at this and going, your team has given up on this fight.
Yeah, and I know.
And you just mindfielded. You just burned an ult into a fight that your team had given up on. And now you're staying in this way too long. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, here we are. You're doing some turret with the Sim, that's fine. Now you recognize that she's got double support, you're out. Like, I don't care that your adaptive shield is going, you just leave. Like, you literally just ball up and go, nope, I'm going out here. Maybe I'll continue to shoot at you a little bit with my adaptive shield from over here, but I'm definitely not staying in and brawling this like you are.
You're powered up.
Ready to start the
System.
This is honestly probably a case of, hey, let me just go back and feed my Mercy. Like, this is the situation where you have enough time to go get healed and get back in before your Ana gets revived that you can just be like, hey, let me go feed Valk to my Mercy rather than this Mega. But that's an art with Ball to know when you want to do that.
Yeah, okay. No, that's a good point, though.
neither of your supports are in this fight, so like this is
Right.
too shallow. And you know, you've just completely lost track of what the team fights look like. You're in always on mode right now, and actually on your defense, you were much better about this. Like you had the one that was bad, etc., and you had the hey, I'm gonna slow them down type thing that was wrong, but you know, I understood where you were coming from. Right now, you're like not even stopping to think about team fights as separate instances on a chart. You're just like go go go.
Right. Right.
System down. Recharging shields.
I'm on the objective. Come join me.
Time to leave.
Heroes never die.
60 seconds remaining.
Almost.
Yeah. Come on.
Good. Fine.
Rolling out.
I'm ready to start.
So I've mostly viewed this as eventually it happens to work out in your favor, that you were always in, always doing stuff, etc. Because like,
Yeah,
hey,
I
yes.
had almost nothing to do with it. I was like basically just cleaning up kills in this fight.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
if you
that's
look at it,
that's not nothing. I mean, I'm not really counting these as your eliminations that you got here. These guys were going down either way, probably, but I don't
Oh,
care.
yeah, yeah.
My point is more that, like, you were constantly in, you were constantly on, etc., and that might feel like, oh, yes, we got them, and, like, yeah, okay, it does help. You will happen to line up with your team more often because your uptime is higher than most other characters in this game, but you also miss windows, like we saw with the Zarya over here, where, hey, free 6v5 that you could have had by coming in early. And this one's wrong, but hey, it happened to work out that you were able to stay in long enough and stay powerful long enough that your supports were able to get back and do stuff, etc. But that didn't have to be the case. You could have been out getting health packs at the wrong time. You could have not had your adaptive shield at the right time, because a lot of that stuff can just be forced when you're in and not aware of it, etc. So you're mostly getting, I wouldn't say rewarded, because you could, like, you're recognizing some profits over the fact that Ball's uptime can be so high that it just happens to line up sometimes. But if you're more conscious of it, you're gonna make it better still. Anyways, I think you've got it. So we'll keep
30
going.
seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
If you don't, by all means, stop me and we can go into it more.
Outfitting.
Slash,
no,
I can
I-
re-explain it better. Okay.
Oh, like I definitely need to do a better job of like just like stopping and just being like.
Well, it's
okay,
just
where's my
anytime
team?
before you go in, I just want to check on where's my team. If I do something right now, is my team going to be contributing to the battle if I do something right now? The answer right now is no. The answer right now is no.
The answer right now is definitely no. I also fucked up and I did not check to my left and I missed the McCree. There's a McCree right
Yep.
behind me right
Yep,
now.
I'm aware of that. But even if that wasn't the case, the only other person who's in a place that they could be contributing to
Right.
this fight is this Mercy. And you didn't really check to get that. So let's go here. Here you are. This is effectively our space. It's neutral, but we'll call it our space right now. But now you're pushing in, and before you've left our space to neutral space, you haven't done any sort of check of, hey, where's my team? Because your team is
Right.
not relevant yet. And now you're going from neutral space to this is enemy space, and you still haven't checked on your team. So it's sort of like anytime you transition from safe space, team that is space that you control, your team controls, whatever, to space that is contested, before you do so, I would like you to do a quick look around, and it's just to look through walls to see, if I go in here, are my teammates going to be in a position where there's a chance that they can follow up on it? It's just
Right,
going to have to be that simple every time before you go into dangerous space.
Now I think my mindset right now was
Mm-hmm.
I was just I'm scouting right now. I think. But I'm too far in to just be scouting right now.
Yeah,
and I'm
this
fucked.
can't be scouting. Like, your version of scouting can be, hey, I'm here third personing around this wall. Maybe I'll go to here and
Right,
I'll third
right.
person around this wall. Maybe I'll go to here and third person around
That's
this wall.
what I should do next time.
But
Yeah,
it'll
I should
be-
stop at that Yeah.
But
I
it
should
would
stop at that like sword holder and be like, is there anybody on the platform above? Instead of going up to the fucking platform.
exactly. But you wouldn't just straight go here. You'd have to third person peek from. You'd have to make sure there's no one there, and then make sure there's no one
Yes.
there before you can go here to do it. Cool.
The block. Now they end up fucking themselves by like camping me so hard.
Yeah, but this could have easily gone the other way. Like, I'm
Oh,
glad
yes,
you
yes.
guys are getting it here, but yeah. Like, that was a... Yeah. Bit of a panic grab of, oh shoot, I have to take advantage of this, and it worked. But, Gonna mine? Yep. What? You
Yeah,
saw that high noon. Okay. I mean...
I didn't, honestly.
Oh,
I did
okay.
not.
That's
like,
fine.
I saw it too late.
Got it. Because that would have been a pretty easy tuck behind here, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And just barely not the second tick there. That's gonna hurt.
That's us. I'm pretty sure that's as far as we get.
Yep. But we're gonna have some better engagement timing for this next one, even if we don't get it. I believe.
Oh god, let's hope. I don't remember anymore.
That's fine.
I'm pretty sure like I've learned lessons here, as you can see.
Okay. So, like, maybe you're kind of early for this. Maybe your thought was, hey, I'm peeking around here. I see that the sim is separated. I'm going to push her so that my Hanzo can pop up and finish her. Maybe that was your thought.
Yeah.
It's a little
It
early.
was. I'm like, okay, she's far forward.
Okay.
I think this is doable.
Sure.
Our Hanzo, I got it. Oh, man. He just wasn't hitting the shots.
That's fine. I don't mind. If there's a plan that has a reasonable chance of success, and this one did, I don't mind. Whether it works or not, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. Good. That's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you guys took forever to finish it, and you knew that McCree was following you the whole time, so not a big deal.
Heroes never die. Yaki parambasta victahe.
Let's look back at this fight that you just roll right into.
Heroes never die.
I think the dudes are all pretty much as in. It's like.
So this is reasonable, but this is reasonable because you can see all of your teammates are in this fight. No one is in spawn right now. No one is behind you. And hey, even one of them was in spawn, though a res happens, etc. So yeah, this is fine. But there you go.
I'm actually late, even I think.
Well, but the reason you're late because you're returning from the spawn, etc. Like you were in this before. You were trying to take a pre-fight pick before the actual team fight. You were trying to go, hey, let's get a quick 2v1 on this sim, and it didn't work out. But now your team is in, taking the 5v6. So yes, you were correct to return to the fight. But you wouldn't be correct to return to the fight if it was a 2v6, for example.
Powering shields.
Leave. No. You are way overstaying. You're welcome.
Powering shields.
Here you are. You do this. You do this. Cool. You've used all of your cooldowns, but you have a bunch of adaptive barrier left. So I'm fine if you want to stand and brawl, quote unquote, for a moment. Okay. Now you have too many eyeballs on you. You're out of adaptive shield health. The Orisa's working on you. The Ana's working on you. This Ana isn't like, 20 health from being eliminated or anything. It's time to leave. Right. And leave doesn't necessarily mean hard leave. You can just go over here and be playing this.
Go grab the Mega on the boardwalk or something like that.
You could do that, but you don't even have to do that. You have plenty of health, but you've used your shield, you've used your pile drive, you don't have tether. I'm just saying like a leave over to here where you're fighting it at an angle, or a leave over to here where you're fighting at an angle. Get to the outskirts of the fight. Don't just be in the middle of it. You see where you are? Right. Like you're just literally in the middle of the fight. You don't know that the Zarya is melting you necessarily, but you know that at least two of these people are paying attention to you. And this is dangerous. This is safer. Just go to the edge of the fight. And honestly, even when you had the adaptive shield, if you didn't think you had a real possibility of getting the Ana, and I didn't, the edge of the fight becomes a little more attractive. You don't want to live in the center without your abilities. You want to live on the edge and then re-enter to try and do work with tether throughs, etc. once you have abilities.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you just
Oh,
were
so
trying too
close.
hard. And I
Yeah,
know
was
it was
so
so close, but you're on top of their
But
spawn versus
yeah.
yours, and it's like, yes, I got 200 damage worth of ult charge. They got 600. You know, like.
Exactly. Yeah. And even if I killed the Ana, it wouldn't have made it.
Right.
For-
Even if
for
you
nothing.
kill the Ana and get out, that's probably not a cap because of the spawn difference.
Right.
That's not great, but I don't hate it. He now doesn't have his flash, and that's actually a pretty big deal if you don't do this. Okay, so
I think I thought that Zarya was more with me than she was.
yeah, that's fine. I'm actually okay with it because you go like this.
I'm not sure why I wasn't looking at him, honestly.
Why you weren't looking at him? Oh, when you came around the corner, you're saying?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Maybe there was a distraction that we can find.
60 seconds
There's a lot of
remaining.
complaining in team chat going on at this point. I
Yep.
think I'm just gonna turn off team chat.
That's fair. So here we are. You see him, you decide to fight him, fine. He's gonna flash you. I don't mind this. This is fine. I'm willing to make this trade, etc. Because he's sort of helpless against you if you come back at full health without flash. So like this is literally just a I'm gonna leave and go get the mega, and then I can come back and duel you type thing. But it has to be a duel. No. We have to go get the mega, and it has to be a duel. This is not that.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah. This is you. The window for this fight is long since over.
Yeah.
Ah!
My ultimate is almost charged.
Who kills?
I know, but I want to see it. This is effectively last fight. Your team's in it.
Yeah.
Your team's still in it. Yeah, I'll live.
They're all dead at this point.
Okay.
Enemy reviving.
Fine. Go to the edge of the fight. Go to the edge of the fight.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I'm, like,
minefield.
waiting
No.
to just-
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the biggest thing by far is going to be understanding engagement timing, and that's a big concept, but what we're going to break that down to is anytime before you transition from safe space that your team controls or space that you're alone in, etc., to space that you expect to be contested or expect to be dangerous, I literally just want you to do a mental check off of where's my team. Like, I literally just want you to turn and look through the wall, where's my team? Or press tab, is my team alive, etc. I basically want some combination of those two things for now, every time before you transition into space. As you get better, you're going to be better at tracking the feed, you're going to be better at recognizing blah, 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 and you're going to need to check on your team less often. That's also going to be true as you go up the ranks because people get a little bit more predictable. But for now, like, every time before you go in to dangerous space, I want to check of, hey, where's my team? If I go in, I might have 2 seconds on this Ana, then she's going to have help. So if she's going to have help, my team needs to be in a place where they can be threatening within 2 seconds, preferably within 1 second, right? Of me doing this thing where they have the option to open the angle for a Hanzo, to push as an Orisa, to push as a Reinhardt, to open the angle as a Kree, to come in as a Tracer, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's going to be a big thing, and it's like a big change I'm asking you to make, etc. But I do want you to do it, and I want you to work deep into the habit, and then it's the sort of thing where you can start to maybe do it a little less once you prove that you can do it more, sort of thing. Like, engagement timing is everything for tanks, and this will be transferable to any sort of main initiation type tank you play, and it'll also be transferable to DPS heroes that you play. Like, this is an important skill in Overwatch, and you have the mechanics, you have the techs, you've done your rollout practice, etc., and that's great. So the thing that you're now going to do to realize your profits off of that investment into your mechanical skills and your knowledge of the hero is going to be this big concept of if I'm going in, it's gotta be at a time when my team can get value out of it. And the same thing would apply if we were talking on defense here. It's what we talked about before, where I can totally distract them right here. If I have an Ashe here, a Hanzo here, a Hanzo here, a Zen here, etc., whereas I can't go in here if I have 5 people grouped up right here, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's how I want you thinking about, like, every time you're about to go in, I sort of want the thought before you transition into the dangerous space of where are they? And I really want you to be thinking about that for like the next 30 games that you play. I want that to be like, even if you play worse, I want it to be like 10% of your mental space for 30 games. And that might seem like a lot, but I promise that we're going to get you better at this topic, and then we're going to get you better at some other topic, and then at some point in the future, you're going to need to get even better at this topic, if you follow what I'm saying, because this is a scalable skill that you're going to have to scale all the way up to GM, high GM, etc. as you're getting better at the game. So like, we're going to get better at this, and we're going to then revisit this later. But for now, get as much gains on this as you can, not gains in terms of SR, but gains in terms of getting the skill as you can, because it is something that like you will have to get much, much better at on your way through the ladder. The second thing, after you've done like 30 games of that, hopefully it's going to start to stick, which will be great. And once it does, you're going to go, okay, now the second thing that I want to work on is I want to, when I don't have my cooldowns or when I'm not about immediately to get an elimination on someone, I want to transition to the edges of fights. If my team is fighting from here, whatever, rather than me being in the fight, I've already done my work. Let me transition a bit further away to sort of the edge of the fight where I'm not surrounded anymore. So like, if we're over on Hanamura first, just as another example, it could be my team is pushing in here. There's an Ana and a Symmetra on me. You know what? I don't want this anymore. I'm going to back out to here. My team is now here trying to work their way in, or maybe my team's in, and I'm transitioning to the edge of the fight fighting from here, or the edge of the fight fighting from here. I'm not in it fighting 2 to 3 people anymore. I'm sort of going mid-range poke at Ana, mid-range poke at Symmetra, etc., to remind them I'm here to be annoying. And once I've got my tether back, maybe I'll go. Once I've got my tether in my pile drive, maybe I'll go. Once, I've been able to get the Harmony Orb in my tether, maybe I'll go. That's the sort of thing, and I'll go do another pass, and, then I'll finish over here. And I'm still at the edge of the fight. I'm really only staying in the fight if I'm really close to a finish and I have my adaptive shield. And it's okay to be at the edge of the fight with your adaptive shield going. Like, it's okay to be like, I have 300 adaptive shield left and I'm playing at the edge of the fight. That's still fine. Like, I don't want you to leave and be going and getting health packs while you have a bunch of adaptive shield left, but you being at the edge of the fight shooting is fine. So first work on the engagement timing, and then once it's like, hey, it's been 30 games, I really think I've improved meaningfully on this engagement timing, start to move on to this transitioning to the edge of the fight thing, and see if then, review and see if, hey, is my engagement timing getting worse as I'm focusing on this new thing? If so, drop it because this edge of the fight thing isn't as important, and go back to, putting that brain power on the engagement timing, and then, maybe 10 games later, or maybe 2 days later, whatever, you switch back to and see, okay, now let me try this edge of the fight thing again, and hopefully this time the engagement timing is stuck, even when you've moved on to a new topic. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how I sort of want you to approach this, and what I would like, I think, is you do that. If you have questions, if you get into a situation where you go, I think my engagement timing is better, but I'm not sure, you can send me a VOD, and I will just jump through it real quick for 2 minutes. It won't be a session, but I'll just jump through it for like 2 minutes, and I will very quickly be able to tell if it's better or not. And I'll say, hey, yeah, it looks like this is improved, or no, it isn't. If you're having trouble yourself telling whether your engagement timing is improved, I think you will be able to tell. But if you're having trouble because it's a sort of nebulous concept, that is something that I'm willing to do in this situation. But then once you feel that you've got that and you feel it's not going to be like, this is what we need to improve on, it's probably time to think about, hey, maybe I want to schedule another session, etc. Because this edge of the fight thing matters, but I think you'll get it down faster and it's much less important than the engagement timing. Okay.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Do you
have... and edge of the fight is like, it's going to be higher damage for me anyway, because I'm not trying to shoot at this, like, Ana that's right next to me and jumping around and stuff.
That can be true, yes, that can be true. You're in less heat, you're pulling attention in a different direction, which is on your team, and yes, it's a little easier to track at that distance. You have some pretty bad spread, truth be told, as Hamster, but, your ability to be like, hey, I'm not right up in their face where it's really hard to track them, etc., it does have a lot of value. Do
Right,
you have questions either about either of those concepts, about other Overwatch stuff, other stuff that maybe you want to get into here?
I mean, like with this, like with the team comp that we're running right here,
Mhm.
or we're running, like Mercy, Moira,
Mm-hmm.
Hanzo, May, Zara, like basically none of these people have any chance of interacting with me whatsoever. Like,
I
through the
disagree.
course of
So you have a
no,
Zarya, which you can get bubbles from. You
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. Zara can do that.
you have a Mercy who can get fancy with like I'm gonna damage boost your pile drive type stuff, and then Guardian Angel back out, though that's not gonna be common. You
Yeah.
have in terms of interacting with you, other than that, you have the Moira, who it's true, mostly isn't gonna interact with you. And then what was your other DPS? Was it May the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have the Hanzo, which this is dicey, but you can knock people. You can, if their other team is rotating as a clump, etc., like behind the Orisa shield, you can, knock backliners away from the Orisa during the rotation for him to potentially hit shots on, etc., if you're coordinated. So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
things that you can do, and you can also pile drive people up. It's harder with a Hanzo than with like an Ashe to pile drive people up over the shield to get hit, but those are things that you can do. But I'm mostly with you. Is this going into voice chat?
Sorry, what do you mean into voice
Well,
chat?
I assumed that you're saying, hey, there's no one on my team that I can interact with. So I was assuming this was leading to since there's no one I can interact with, should I even bother to be in voice chat? I assumed that was where
No,
this
no,
was
no,
going.
no,
Okay.
no. I'm just like just thinking like in games where there's like a Sigma, a Genji,
Mhm.
Tracer on my team,
Mhm.
it's extremely obvious what like I don't know. I find some of those games go extremely smoothly. It's like I get in there, I pile drive somebody, Tracer and Genji, shoot them like one time, and
Yep.
we have our first pick, and that's it.
Sure. That's because you understand dive and they understand dive.
Right,
This is
right.
going to be tough in silver, but like Hammond gets played perfectly well in poke too, because in poke everyone is really respecting their cover. Let's say you're playing poke v poke, where you have like Ashes, Widows, Hanzos, etc. on both sides, and then maybe like an
Mhm.
Orisa or Hog as your partner. It's a really big deal to move people into sight lines. Your boop isn't as powerful as it used to be, but moving people into the open for your Hanzo to hit a shot on, for your Ashe to hit a shot on, etc. Pile driving people up for your Ashe or Widow to hit a shot on, etc. So like you've
Right.
got synergy with those two. Brawl is harder. Playing into Brawl without when you're not poker diver, playing with Brawl can be a little bit harder. But if you're playing with a Brawl comp, and again, you're not going to get perfect of any of these because your team is going to be a scattered mess like it is here. That's just the reality of ladder most of the time. But like if your team has a Reinhardt and a Reaper, and their team has an Orisa, well, sure, a quick roll through of their team to try to knock one or two people towards your team has more value. You're looking more for knocks in, more for knocks like, let me get behind these opponents and let me try to knock a couple of them forward towards my team before they want to be, so that my Reinhardt and Reaper can chew them apart, so that my Reinhardt and May can do work on them, etc. Sound good?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. Those are kind of your three ways. I won't say they're your only three ways of playing, but they're sort of how you play with the three different comps that you can get. You knock people into sight lines with you have poke, you go for dives, coordinated, win the flanks with your divers, and then go for the coordinated dive as best you can, or try to knock people who preferably aren't brawlers and preferably not the whole team, but just a couple towards your team when they're already close, when you have things like Reaper, Reinhardt, May, etc. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All
Any
right, I
other
think that's a lot of good stuff to work on then for sure. And I'll just I think I'll just turn off team chat and just like
I
focus on the stuff that I've got to focus on.
I think that's good when you're trying to improve. I honestly think you
Yeah.
can improve faster like that most of the time, so I recommend it. I think we're good here. I think time-wise, I could go do like one team fight in the other VOD if you want, but I think you've probably got a lot here to review, so up to you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you if you want to pull up the other VOD real
Sure,
quick, like
sure.
our defense is great. I don't really have any.
Okay.
I don't know what I would really like. Obviously, there's stuff to improve on all the time, but
I'm
like,
sure I can find. I mean, we're in a silver
Oh, yeah,
game.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure I can find things for you to improve on.
100%, 100%. No, man, like yeah, maybe let's just skim it for a sec.
Welcome to Rialto. Ready for battle.
Okay, let's go here. Let's go like this.
Ready for battle.
Okay, we'll go like this. So you have yourself a pretty heavy poke comp here with the Sigma, Sigma, Ashe, and McCree.
Attackers incoming.
Your third
This is
person
like one of
around
my
the
least.
corner. Go ahead.
Sigma, I find I have an easy time understanding what to do when I have a Sigma on my team, but less when it's like Lucio, Mercy, Ashe, McCree kind of thing, you know.
Okay. Well,
So I'm kind of like waiting for them to split themselves up, or like let me split them up.
Sure. Well, the Lucio is weird for this comp, but the McCree
Yeah.
and the Ashe are both poke DPS, right? Like the McCree hybridizes towards Brawl, but they're both poke DPS, and Sigma is a poke
And Mercy's
tank.
great with both. So,
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Lucio I think is throwing me off. 'Cause
Yep.
he's like that could be a much stronger pick.
Yeah, it definitely could be. On ladder, you're looking at the supports least for identifying what your comp does.
Yes.
You know, ladder, they absolutely matter, and they'll be more synergized. They'll make more sense in organized play. But on ladder, your supports are probably the least important for what does your comp do. Okay.
Activating
You should get out without any trouble. You're gonna bother her a bit. Fine. You'll be fine. Why would you go back this way? Why not go right back this way and sort of go, hey, I'm going to do a swipe through here, etc. Like, I don't hate going this way or anything, but I feel like you were way more likely to get noticed, to draw attention that you didn't necessarily want here by going this way.
I think I was starting to get worried that they were getting too close to my dudes.
Okay, that's fair. You can.
So I kind of want to put myself between
Sure.
the poke guys and these guys.
That's fine, because your guys are poke guys. I can live with that. And you got that, so it works out. My problem was
I was frankly lucky, but
yeah, I knew you didn't
and
have adaptive
I
shield.
shouldn't have adapted here, but I did it like I.
You might have gone down if you hadn't adapted, actually.
Yeah. I think I'll let you heal me up because
No, the mini's fine. The mini's fine. This fight isn't cleanly over. There's other things that she could do.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You don't need to be worried. Like if she can heal you, great. But she would prefer to get back to damage boosting the Ashe. She might not, but like a better Mercy would prefer to get back to damage boosting the Ashe. Oh, she was she swapped to heal rather than boosting the slam. Okay.
I don't think I hit anybody with the slam anyway.
You didn't.
Oh no, I hit hug, but
why would you roll through him here?
I think I'm just like trying to just open up the angle for the DPS guys. Like,
but you already have it. So like, just shoot him. Like,
but he's behind the cart, so he's kind of like not in their sightlines right now.
I know, but like, I'm just gonna look at this for a second and sort of point out. You go here. None of the opponents can see you except Hog. If you just pressure Hog from here, he's gonna want to turn to deal with you, etc. And like, if he just stays behind the Hog, like, yes, he might turn and challenge you and just try to 1v1 you, and that might be his best thing, but I'd recommend you just go weapons mode here and shoot at him and see what he does. Because he might go, I don't like that, and try to go over here, and then your team has access to him. He might come forward to try to fight you. Like, you are pretty sure know that he doesn't have hook at this point. Oh no, he does.
Even if he does,
so, even if he does,
down to it.
Right, you're not worried. So
it would actually be great if you use it on me.
Right, so you're just like, hey, I'm going to fight you from here. And if he turns and starts just throwing right clicks at you, fine, I'll leave. I'll go this way. I'll come around, and now maybe I'll do it from here type thing. Or maybe now I'll hit my roll through, etc. But like, I would go here and just take your weapons mode play. It's free shots. I mean, you're not going to eliminate him, but it's relatively free. Whereas this is sort of like, okay, that's your tether, and I don't mind it, and your team sort of has angles now, and it does work out. As long as your McCree doesn't beat. So to answer your question, yes, that you also got the eliminate. I mean, you guys also eliminated her, but that res was going to be canceled regardless. It's fine. You have tether. Okay.
You should join mine.
Okay. Sorry, I'm losing some frames here.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I'm just kind of like alternating between front and back and getting out of dodge.
Yeah, you are. So, in this game so far, you're not really getting punished for not having proper engagement timings because the engagement timing is constant for your team right now because these guys are having to constantly make a bad rotation. So, like, the biggest flaw in your play is being hidden. So, the thing that we'd talk about is, hey, there's more times where you should be taking advantage of weapons mode. Here, you took good advantage of weapons mode, then you went through the roll through, which I don't mind, etc. That's fine. But like the biggest flaw in your play, we can see it's being hidden by what these guys are forced to do right now, which is good. I mean, take it.
Get in there, Bob.
Didn't see anything good there.
Yep.
Take another pass.
Now they have a Widow.
Yeah, they have a Widow, so I'm like, okay, I know what my job is now.
You say as you go weapons mode and shoot at the McCree from a million miles away, but
Well, I'm trying to give them something juicy to look at because Ashe is damage boosted to my left there.
Sure.
And,
no.
And our Sigma's, I think our Sigma's still coming back.
And I get that. It's just if this Widow does take a shot at you, you then can't go in. Whereas right now you could go in pretty safely. So I'm just surprised that you have all your cooldowns. I'm looking at this and going, you should just go in. Like I look at this and go, hey, you're here. There's no need to go out. You had your Ashe a second ago. Do you not have any poke up? No, you have your McCree right here. Like you have your McCree. You know how things have traded relatively. You are still up. I think maybe you still have some. No, you're even right now. You're even right now. So this is you can afford to go in this even fight right now and go, hey, I'm going to roll through. If you flash me, so be it. I have this. I'm really trying to bother the Widow a bit because she's going to play way more conservatively if she has any sort of distraction. And that is the window that our Mercy might need for the res.
We still need you.
Okay, and the Mercy got the res, and then the Ashe boosted Mercy. The Ashe boosted Mercy. That's a thing. The Mercy boosted Ashe did the job. Yeah, this is not effective gunner mode. And the thing is, you've been gunner moding the whole time in a situation where you could afford to go in at a different angle than your team, but not an extreme different angle than your team, if you know what I'm saying. And you've had all of your cooldowns this whole time. So this isn't really when I want you weapon moding. I want you weapon moding more on these more extreme angles that are more distracting to them than this. Because, like, yes, if we look at their McCree just as an example... Yes, the sightline on you is different than the sightline, like, looking at you. It's a pivot to look at the Ashe. It's a pivot to look at where the Ashe was, but it's not the pivot that it is to look all the way over here, right? So, like, this is an angle. This helps. This isn't nothing. I prefer you here to here, of course. But, like, if you're going to just long-term weapon mode, I would prefer you're over on this flank, etc. That's a better distraction because your damage isn't actually very good regardless. You're going for the distraction value, etc.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. We're running long, but that's fine. Let's do it.
Maybe go look at the attack because the attack is really bad.
Okay.
Their attack's bad. Our attack is much worse.
Really? That's depressing. Okay, so here we are.
I was jazzed, man, because our defense was so nice on this.
Sure,
we held them great, and then I think we literally did not push the cart like around the corner.
Torb turret, Nemesis.
Torb turret. Hate it. Get out. Now, so here's my mistake with this game. I keep rolling back.
Yeah, there's no reason to leave. Like, he can't hurt you. Like, he can hurt you, but, like, it's like, yeah, you're going to hurt me, but you're not going to eliminate me. Let me go get this mega. Yeah.
Exactly. I should have been living in that courtyard and in that building and fucking with them the whole time from the back. And instead, I just kept getting, like, I think I just kept getting flustered by this turret and being like, I need to kill this for my teams.
Okay.
So, like, that's a big roll through. And I shielded too late. I fucked that up.
You shielded too late, and then because you hit that shield, you needed to just go, oh, well, I did hit the shield, so let me just stop here and shoot you guys from an angle. Like, I might as well spend this shield that I have. Instead,
I see.
During the majority of your shield, you're rolling through here.
Right.
And you're going for this.
I go for the dive before my shield's gone, but I mean,
barely.
The turret's back, I lose the shield, and, like, I think I've even died here.
and you curve this way as opposed to curving out
Exactly.
this way. Like that's
Exactly.
yeah. Okay.
I keep giving them a very easy time to keep track of all the people on my team.
Mhm.
Down.
And I'm very slow building ult.
But that's because you're having to go all the way out every time. Leave.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I know. I'm cringing watching this right now. Like, between the sim turret and the torp turret, it's like there's just
Yeah, no, it's rough, but it's not undoable.
no, it's not.
No. We don't really want to be pushing right here. Like, they just got 2 eliminations. We just heard
Yeah.
Lucio screaming, etc. And, like, we might feel like, oh, but we're only down 1 because we have 1 elimination, but our respawns are going to be faster than this. Let's just take our 6v5 instead of doing this where you risk getting into trouble or risk not being here when they need you. Yeah, now your team's alive. In 2 seconds, they'll be able to threaten, and you're going in, but now you're going in missing half your health when that didn't have to be the case. Like, this timing is effectively right, but your resources are low.
Yeah, my resources low, and I've been losing the ult ward, so they have a trance for my minefield, which is crazy.
Heroes never die.
Oh boy, you have to leave. Yep.
I know. I think I die.
Yeah, that wasn't great micro-pathing. You wanted to tuck left, but that's okay. Discord's gone at least. You are not going to have a good time here. You've just been you're like taking damage faster than the health packs regen. This is
Yes. Also, I was not thinking correctly as to where my best mega was there.
Sure.
And I missed it.
Also, you might as well break these turrets before you shoot at them, because as soon as you shoot at them, you draw attention, whereas they probably won't notice that they lose their turrets there. Now we circle through for something a little more real. Maybe we get a mini too.
I see that the guys are like doing stuff, so I'm like,
Sure.
I think I gotta do stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm in just such a bad situation here. Like this orb is just...
But at least you're living behind the enemy team a little more now. That was better than the first 2 minutes.
He just chips me down so fast that it's like
Yeah.
takes me 30 seconds to collect health packs that he fixes in 5 seconds.
Right, which is why it's so important that you get your engagement timings right, because again, like, you're like, oh, it took me so long to recover from that fight. Well, it took you so long to recover from a fight that you'd entered with half health. Remember? Like, you'd entered the fight that you've been recovering from this whole time with half health, and it's like, yeah, that's gonna happen. Okay.
Activating the barrier.
Together.
Okay, now you're on Zarya. And I think I'm going to stop there because you're on Zarya, and this has been a ball review. So I think that's going to do it. The bigger problem, like a bigger problem than you're going to the edges for, you know, your biggest problem is engagement timing. A bigger problem than you going to the edges for, what am I trying to say? For... words are hard. For, you know, going to the edges in fights rather than staying in the middle of them is your constantly looping back to your team here rather than living behind them. But I don't know how consistent that problem is for you, because we saw that here. You fixed it after a couple minutes, and we didn't see a ton of that in Hanamura. So like that problem needs to be fixed, but I don't know how ingrained that is in you. So that would be more.
I don't think it's ingrained. Like I do have like this fundamental knowledge of like,
okay,
my job as hamster is to not be with my team most of the time.
Okay.
Like to be a thorn in like the sides and like just to take away their attention and split their whatever, like their focus.
Sure.
But yeah, I should have just been in the top floor of that building shooting down on them.
Yep.
And anytime I got somebody low, just pile drive, and like I probably could have killed that stand a bunch of times this game.
Potentially. Yeah. Top building could have done work from there. Okay, I think we've got plenty for you. I'm gonna go ahead and call it here, but look forward to seeing you next time. Good luck, man.
Okay, man. Sounds good.
Peace.